What's up? Today I'm going to talk about how semen retention helped me improve my life. So let's start at the beginning. Back then, I was depressed, I had no job, I didn't finish high school, and all I was doing was smoke weed every day and playing video games. And I was tired of it. So at first, what I decided to do was go on YouTube, search how to beat depression and stuff like that. And I stumbled upon a video of a guy saying that if I wanted to improve my life, I had to start NoFap and stop jerking off. At first, I wasn't really convinced that stop jerking off would make a big improvement in my life, but I started to limit porn because I could do something more productive. I also learned that you are what you do. So if you ain't doing shit with your day, basically you ain't shit. So what I decided to do was to find a job. But when you're 19 and never had no experience before and didn't finish high school, it's really hard to find a job. But the thing is, I didn't want it to finish high school because it would have taken me like 2 years. So all I wanted to do is to get some money. Since I didn't finish high school, I had to get a skill. I passed the test to have my forklift certification. So I got hired from different jobs, but it was always the same thing. I would get hired for 2 weeks, then I would get fired because my back hurt and it was really affecting my performance at work. And around that time, I was starting the process of having my equivalence test to have my equivalence for the high school diploma. And I remember it was around that time that I really started to jerk off less and less and less. Like around that time, I think I was like just jerking off like once a week, something like that. And around that time too, I started to smoke less and my depression started to fade because I finally had a direction with my life. My back was hurting and I needed time to study, so I started to work at a part-time job at a grocery store. And I decided to do the equivalence test because it would took me like 3 months to have my equivalence to the high school diploma instead of 2 years to have my high school diploma. Even when I was working a part-time job, I still had problems with my back. So I went to see a physical therapist so he could treat me and give me like some stretches, exercise to heal my back. When I started to go to the physical therapist, it really made a difference with my back. So I started to work at a warehouse with the forklift so I could make more money. And he told me that when my back healed, I could go back to the gym. So it really motivated me. Around that time, I started to hold my seed for longer periods of time. I think around that time I was at 1 month. Yeah. So around that time I was in a 1 month streak and I really noticed a difference in my energy levels. Like I could work 8 hours a day and be like barely tired. When you always jerk off, you always tired for no reason. So when I started to hold my seed, even if it was for 1 week, I really noticed difference in my energy levels. When my physical therapist cleared me, I got back in the gym and right away I noticed that a lot of girls were starting to look at me. Back then I knew that if you hold your seed, girls are going to start notice you and look at you a lot. But I didn't really believe it at first. I thought it was like a placebo effect or something, but I really noticed that right away the first time I went to the gym. So girls were starting to look at me, but the problem is I was looking at them too much. So I had to learn to discipline myself. I was lifting weights, but I wanted to do martial arts too. So I went to a Muay Thai class. And when you go to do any martial arts, you're gonna do a lot of cardio. So I did a lot of cardio, but I noticed that my endurance was crazy. I had more endurance than anybody else. And you have to remember, I was smoking a lot of weed back then too. So I never thought that I had that much cardio and endurance. And I never was an athlete too. Like I never really played sports back in the day, you know. So it really surprised me. I was at a 3-month streak, and I noticed that my recovery in the gym was insane. Like I could train like really intense and be barely sore the next day. I was doing I was lifting weights 3 times a week and doing Muay Thai 2 times a week, and I swear to God, I was barely sore. My diet helped too, because when you have a good diet, like it helps with recovery, you know. And I had good sleep, so yes, it helped. But I really think that if I wasn't on semen retention, my recovery wouldn't be like that. Let's talk about the benefits I noticed after 3 months. I noticed that I gained 20 pounds in 3 months, but honestly, it was more because of my diet. But I really gained it more in muscle mass than fat, because I was training in the gym hard, and I did a lot of cardio. I was more confident. I had stronger eye contact and less anxiety, and a desire to face my fears. I noticed that the longer I hold in my seed, I was more spiritually connected. Like that's why I had my spiritual awakening around that time too. So it's like I had my spiritual awakening a little bit before I started to do NoFap, but it really like boosted my spiritual awakening. And I remember that the desire to smoke was barely existent. Like the only reason that I smoked back then was because I couldn't sleep if I did smoke weed. And but honestly, it's because I wasn't tired, so I couldn't sleep because I didn't do nothing with my day. When I started working, I was getting tired, so I didn't need to smoke to sleep. But 3 months later, like when I was like in the gym and shit, like the desire to smoke was barely existent. The only reason I smoked honestly was because I don't know, like I wanted to smoke just for fun. If we fast forward to now, I'm on 9 months of semen retention. I'm no longer depressed. The last time I smoked was like back in October. I'm happy. I'm spiritually awakened. I'm stronger and healthier than before. I unplugged from the matrix. I manifested great things, and I'm finally found my life purpose. I went from a skinny, depressed loser to a spiritually awakened being that finally found his life purpose. So don't tell me this shit doesn't work.